Hi, welcome back to Katrina's Creations Knitting Podcast. This is episode 68. If you are a returning viewer, thank you for coming back each week. I really appreciate it. If you're a new viewer, thank you for stopping by. And if you haven't already, please click the subscribe button down below. If there's a little bell and you click next to that, you'll get notifications whenever I post anything. So, I'm not sure if there's a little bell over there or not because of the number of subscribers I have. But anyway, if you click the subscribe button, I post every Saturday, unless, like today, I've got some extra good yarniness that's going to have a midweek, possibly 2 midweek episodes. I've got lots and lots of stuff to share with you this week. I am so excited. I've got not 1, not 2, but 3 finished objects. So we are going to just get started so I can go all the way through all of this. I finished the On the Spice Market. This is the second On the Spice Market that I have made, and this one's for my mother. And I'm going to roll back a little bit so you can see it. And there's the edging. Now I'll get up a little closer so you can see some of the colors a little bit better because it's a little bit dark up here. We have a storm coming in. If you hear some windiness, it's really getting windy outside. So here's where it starts. This is a little bit better light to see it. I still haven't woven the ends in. That's how recently I finished it. And then it comes across here. I did not use the 7 different colors that it called for because I used a variegated yarn, and so I just used that for all of it rather than changing. The first On the Spice Market that I made is a gray background and different shades of purples and pinks, and that one I did change color because it calls for like 6 or 7 different color changes. This one I actually used this yarn. It's Barocco Glee. And it is 70% wool, 30% nylon, and it unravels. Here's some of it that I was working on. It literally unravels like a sock blank. There you go, so you can see it. So I was knitting right off of that. And as you can see, it changes to a lot of colors. So I actually have a good bit left of this. I have this partial ball, and then I have 3 more. Because when I bought this, this is initially intended to be knit as a thick clump, like really super chunky, and there is like 6 yards. But because I was pulling it apart, I didn't know how much yardage I would have. So I bought 3, and it was off of a $2 table at my local yarn store, so I couldn't go too far wrong. So I do have a lot of this left. Not sure what I might do. I might knit it as a big chunky something or other, or I might pull it all apart like I was doing and knit something like this is kind of a fingering weight when it's pulling apart. So not sure what I'm going to do with that. And the black that I used, this is all I have left. This is Sugar Rush. It is by Queensland, and it is made from sugarcane fiber. So I just have probably about a half a ball of this and a full ball. So, and now I've got fuzz up my nose like I usually get every week. So I finished that. And then if you follow me on Instagram or on Facebook, and that's Katrina Knits on either one, you will see that I purchased some great big chunky, thick yarn, and I will insert a picture of it. And you knit this with size 50 knitting needles. Now, where's my knitting needles? Okay, I had my knitting needles. I've got a stack of yarn sitting on my bed, sorting through all this stuff to be able to show projects, and I buried the knitting needles. Just a minute. I'm back. Now, how you lose knitting needles this size, I don't know, but I managed to. They were under a pile of yarn. Anyway, these are size 50, if you can see these. in comparison to my hands. Now I got these, you'll notice the color, the bottoms are two different colors. I think they were two different sets. I don't know. I bought them at a flea market yard sale years and years and years ago for 50 cents for the set. So this I found extremely awkward to knit with, because when you would do this and try to hold it so you could wrap the yarn, it was very awkward. I actually ended up putting the knitting needle like under my arm and knitting this way. That was like the only way, was to hold it with like my arm to try to maneuver it. But it's a really, really quick knit, because I had 4 skeins of that super bulky yarn. And I did have a sample to show to you, but I don't have it. It disappeared along with the knitting needles. Anyway, in 3 hours, I had a 3-foot by 3-foot lap blanket. It is extremely soft. It is like rovings. It's basically knitting rovings. Here it is. And it's showing up perfect color-wise, too. And you can see I did change color in the middle of the rows, because as thick as this is, there really wasn't as much yarn. It didn't go very far. And so I wanted to use every little teeny bit of yarn I could have. So I didn't want to just have the striping start and end at different, at the ends. I didn't want to waste any. But if you can see how thick this yarn is, it is roughly as thick. There's some right there. It is as thick as rovings. You could have actually spun this like you would spin it on a spinning wheel, except it's all acrylic, so I wouldn't bother. I got this off of eBay. I think it was free shipping, if I remember rightly. I bought 4 skeins, and it cost me around $25 for all of it. And so I will put a link. If you look at my description box, you'll see where it says show more. If you click the little show more button, it'll drop down, and that's where all the links to different things are. So I will send the link to the buyer or the seller on eBay that I got this from. They have it in all different kinds of colors. So, and it is extremely soft. This actually matches the colors in my living room, but it is, I could like sleep with this. It's just so very soft. It is kind of fuzzy, and as you can see, it gets a halo really easy. You can see the fuzziness there. But so I don't know that it would. It's probably going to have to be hand washed. There's just no way it would just de-puff itself, because it is very fuzzy, very fluffy. You could pull tufts off, but yeah, I could just snuggle up with this thing. And it was funny, I laid it on the floor right after I finished it to take a picture for Facebook and Instagram, and the dog came running over, eyeing it up, thinking it was going to be her future bed. Not for $25. It's not going to be the dog's future bed. Plus, she would like get it all messed up because she'd be scratching around on it and everything. But she thought it looked like it would be quite comfortable for her little self. So, but she didn't get it. It's not hers. It's mine. My lap quilt. Anyway, the third thing I made, I completed one of my socks. If you're just new to the channel, I am doing a comparison of knitting 4 socks 3 different ways. So I have been knitting a sock on DPNs, a sock on a 9-inch circular, and 2 socks at a time on 2 circular needles. This is the sock from the 9-inch circular. I finished that one up, and here it is. This is the blueberry waffle sock, and I knitted this. This is a DK weight yarn. I knitted it on a 2.25 millimeter, which is a US size 1. And so there it is. It's just a little footsie sock. I am finding that it takes more yarn than it did. The first time I knit these, I knit them on a 2.75, and they were way too big, so I ripped them out, and I'm knitting them again. And I have found, thank goodness, I had extra yarn to finish this, because I ran out of yarn right about this. These are cuff down, so I ran out of yarn right about here. So yeah, that's how far I am with this one's finished. This is the one, like I said, from the 9-inch circular. This is definitely, at this point, my preferred method. And I told you last week that I was developing tendinitis in my wrist in here, and I do have a history of tendinitis. I have had cortisone shots in this wrist before. I know which ones are doing it. It's the DPNs, because I did not knit on the the two at a time this week, because I was at a point where I knew I was going to have to dip into this extra ball of yarn, so I wanted to make sure I had some completed socks. So this is the second one. This is with the DPNs, and I ran out of yarn just about in the right spot, right about in here. So I am now dipping into my spare yarn, and you can see these are almost identically matched. They're close. They're not totally, but they're very, very close to being identical, which is good since they are a pair. These two will be together. So, yeah, I'm real happy about that. Like I said, they look like a matched set. Kind of did that by accident, but we won't tell anybody. We'll just say I planned it that way.
Finish it up because I would like to enter it in a knit along for Must Love Yarn, and it runs till the end of the month. And today is today is the 16th. I'm filming on Friday, so I'm got 12 more days to finish this. So here is my progress. I've been knitting on this a bit. Now my hitchhiker is a little different in that I put some eyelet. See if you can get it close. There's some eyelet there, and then I have another row so far of eyelets here. And you can see from my stitch marker where I was last week. And this is a stitch marker that Kathy gave me. So Kathy, thank you once again. Let me see if I can hold this up so you can see it. There's a little purple jewel, and then right here, there you can see it, it says Joy. And it goes, I just thought the little purple jewel looked nice because this has purple in it. So I wanted to use it because anything that's from you guys is extra special to me. So wanted to be able to look at it while I was knitting. So that is my progress on that. I haven't done any work on my poncho this week. And I haven't put any more blanket squares into my mitered square blanket because, like I said, those are the projects I've been working on, trying to clear the decks a little bit because I was feeling a little overwhelmed because I had too much going on, and I really want to finish the Barton cardigan that I started a year ago and then put away. And I showed that to you the other week, the sweater that has the cable stitches all the way around it. And I mean, the arms are cabled, everything is cabled. It's very intricate. But I really want to finish it so I can wear it. Of course, by the time I finish it, it's going to be too warm to wear it, but maybe I could wear it for the fall if I get moving on it. I'm only about this far, so didn't touch that. So I had told you last week that to expect a midweek knit crate unboxing. That didn't happen. My knit crate box got lost. It got mailed out on the 7th, and I kept watching and watching, and so I contacted Knit Crate the other day because the tracking numbers say it's like in transition, or it hasn't gotten to its spot or something like that. So they said that they changed carriers this last month, and apparently other people are having problems too. So at this point, Knit Crate is trying to track down everybody's packages that were lost. Apparently tracking numbers and things got shifted around or whatever. I have a feeling they might not continue with this particular service if they've gotten it this badly messed up the very first week. But anyway, Knit Crate is looking into it, and they responded back to me really fast, and so they're like, we're on top of it. You know, you aren't the first person. We're going to work on it. We will let you know as soon as we find something out. They're still chasing the yarn around the country at this point. So, if I get the Knit Crate in this next week, I will have another video up with that when I do my Knit Crate unboxing. So let me show you some acquisitions that I got this week. I did not buy any more yarn other than the yarn that came in from my big lap quilt. But I do have a little needle gauge. This was also from Knit Crate. I cashed in some stash points, and I got some yarn, which I showed you last week, and I was still waiting for the needle gauge to come in. This is by Haya Haya, and
I have an old needle gauge. I don't even remember where it came from. I don't remember buying it, so I think somebody must have given it to me, or it came in with some stuff. I have no idea, but it was old. It did not have millimeters on it or anything. But this one's cute. It's a sheep, and you know how much I like sheep. But anyway, it has millimeters on one side, and then you flip it over, and it has the US equivalent. So I will use this a lot. So this also has a lot more needle sizes than the other one that I had. So, but my old needle gauge is going to a good home. It turns out there was a lady at church who is a knitter, and I mean, she's a fairly new knitter, and I was talking about a needle gauge, and she didn't know what one was. I said, I will remedy that for you. So my needle gauge is going to go to her. Once I explained what they were for, she was like, oh, that's really neat. I said, don't buy one. You can have mine. So it's going to a good home. So we got that. And then I have a lady at my work bought this shawl, and it is beautiful. Let me hold this up and show it to you. She bought it at a secondhand shop. And she said the story behind it was the person that owned the shop knew the lady who donated this shawl. And that the lady had gotten the yarn from somewhere in England and had it shipped over here. So I'm assuming she must have knit it up. Now, I've looked at this very, very closely. I'm thinking this was all one skein of yarn. Supposedly it's wool, but I'm not convinced it's like 100% wool, because I used wool wash on it, and wool has a smell to it. No matter how clean it is, it's still, when it gets wet, it smells like wet wool. This didn't have that smell. So, but what I thought was interesting with this is this must have all come from one skein with all these really pretty colors. I would have loved to have known what kind of yarn it was, because there's in it. And at first, when she let me look at it, I assumed that it was somebody's, like a scrappy shawl that they had just kept
Adding different colors. But then when I started looking for where the ends were woven, I can't find any places where the ends are woven in. So I have a funny feeling that this was one skein of yarn. And there's some places where you can see the color changing gradually, like with between the pink right in here. You can see it kind of gets a brownish pink. There's some colors intermixed there. So I do tend to think this was a variegated. But I thought it was kind of interesting because it changes. This is the strange thing, is the stripes all change color right at the ends. I mean, there's some variations up in here. So I'm not quite sure what was done, but it does not look... Oh, wait a minute. Maybe there's a weave in here. Ah, I see a spot that looks like it might be where some of the yarn was woven. So maybe this was numerous types of yarn. I do see a spot. Let me show it to you. See right here on this back? Right there. Right here. There is a weave-in. So it could very well be that it was several different skeins of yarn that did this. Anyway, she bought this, and then she couldn't get rid of the smell. Now, I'm not talking, it's not an unpleasant odor. It smells like whoever had this either stored it in a bag with a lot of dryer sheets, or they wore very strong perfume and it's almost permeated the wool. So she gave it to me. She said, if anybody knows what to do with it, she says, you might be able to. So she gave it to me to take home and see what I could make happen. Well, I soaked it for 24 hours in water and wool wash. And then I rinsed it, and then I hung it and let it air dry for a couple of days in my laundry room. And it did take the smell down some, but it's still very strong. It's not as strong as it was, but the smell still was bothering her. She said she could never wear it like up around her neck. Me, I'm not really, I smell it when I put it up like this, but when it's like here, I'm not really noticing it. And it's not a real pungent smell. I mean, if I'm around people that wear really, really strong scented perfumes, it makes me nauseous. I mean, I've blacked out before, but this doesn't seem to bother me. So it's like scented stuff that's more powdery and flowery.
That I can deal with. So anyway, she gave it to me today because she was like, I don't know what to do with it. I'm never going to be able to wear it. So, yeah, I'm the happy recipient. I said, sure, I'll take it. But I did ask her because she paid $30 for this, which handmade things can cost a lot of money, but something that's secondhand and that had a smell like this, I don't know that I would have spent that much money. And it's pretty basic as far as the knitting. It is just a triangular shawl for the most part. That's about what it is. So it's a very simple pattern. So anyway, I am going to possibly, she said she was attracted to this because she liked the color and she liked the shape. Now, I don't have any yarn other than scraps that would maybe be these colors, but this is a worsted. It looks like it's a worsted weight. Yeah, I'd say it's a worsted, between a worsted and a sock weight or sport weight, right around in there. So I don't even know if I have enough of like these type of colors to even put something together for her that doesn't smell. But I do have some yarn that I might dig through my stash and make for her because it has similar colors to that. So I don't know. I'll have to look through and see what I can come up with. So I might be making her a shawl just to, because I feel bad she's out the money. I would have taken it back. But anyway. So that is my acquisitions this week. Now I have show and tell. We have one item for show and tell. Yoka made this, I think she said she made them for her son, for his room. They are crocheted cacti. I think it's funny to say cactuses, even though I know that's not right. But anyway, it's a whole bunch of cacti. So I'm going to insert those pictures. Aren't they cute? I kill everything I come in contact with. It's like a death sentence when flowers cross my threshold. They die. I have killed, not a cactus, I've never had a cactus. I have killed ivy. I dry them or drown them. I do not have a green thumb at all. I have a plant on my desk at work, and it's a fake one. It looks green, it looks pretty, but it's not real because I can't do real plants. I like them, I just can't seem to keep them alive. I'm a plant murderer. So, anyway, maybe I should crochet me some cacti. They would survive. I could do that. So, anyway, I thought they were cute. So, thank you, Yoka, for sending those to us. If any of you have finished projects that you would like me to show to everybody else, you're more than welcome to post them into Facebook. And if you post them into Facebook, I can also put them here on the channel, or you can send me a picture at KatrinasCreations@yahoo.com. So if you have something you want to show off a little bit, or something that you've done that is unique and you want to share, let me know. Just send me an email and pop the pictures in, and I will pop the pictures out to everybody else. So with that, I have 2 books that I talked about last week that I was going to get, and they didn't arrive. They've since come. Now, the socks that I was knitting 2 at a time, I'm doing on 2 circular needles. And then I started remembering that the last time I did socks, I think I did them on 2 circular needles the last time I did 2 at a time. I wanted to try toe-up socks, which I've never done. I've always done cuff down. I wanted to try toe-up. And I also had noticed when I was watching Mina Phillip, the knitting expat, that she was knitting 2 at a time, and she was using 1 needle and doing magic loop. I was like, that might be less yarn entangling than what I had going on the other week. So I got these 2 books. This is Toe Up 2 at a Time Socks. And it is by Melissa Morgan Oakes, who also wrote this book. So they're both by the same author. And I like the binding in these type of books because they're spiral bound. So the page actually stays open. There's nothing worse than trying to knit and have the page, like close up on you while you're in the middle of trying to knit. So it has all kinds of patterns, and she is using, if you can see in this picture, 1 set of needles. And the same in here. In fact, here you can see it's folded over, and she's doing a magic loop. And these apparently are cuff down these are all toe up. So I am going to be perusing these books to check them out, to see some other patterns, because I do have some other sock yarn, and I really would like to conquer the socks. Knitting them one at a time is a little on the slow side. Here's a man's sock. I've talked to my husband, see if he'd like the socks. He didn't give me a definitive answer on there, but there's some men's socks. Yeah, I'm going to have to look through. I really haven't had time. They just came in to sit down and look at them, but I really want to sit down, especially the toe up. And I want to try Magic Loop next time and see what I can do with it. So these are two book recommends for this week. Now for our last segment. Oh, I did not talk about the sock along. All this time I talked about the socks. Completely forgot to talk about the sock along. In case you're new to the channel or whatever, we have a sock along running until the end of this month. So we only have 12 more days in the sock along. But anyway, we have a sock along running. You can enter, we're doing the blueberry waffle sock, but you may enter any socks that you have made as long as you finish them by February 28th. They do have to be a pair, and you just have to enter them in the Ravelry group, Katrina's Creations. Just stick a picture in and tell me what they are, or just tell me something about the socks, whether it's what kind of yarn, what pattern, whatever. Tell me something about the socks, and that will get you entered. And I will be drawing a winner on March 3rd on that episode, and the winner will receive a $6 pattern on Ravelry up to $6. I will gift a pattern to you of your choice. So that is our sock along. So if you haven't put your entry in, you got till the end of this month. So now on to yarn pairings. You guys gave me an overwhelming thumbs up last week that you would like to see yarn pairings. So I actually filmed it yesterday because I didn't know how long it would take to film it. Now my goal with all of this, because you might be saying, you just organized your yarn. It's in a heap on the bed all over again. You might have watched just a couple months ago, I reorganized all my yarn, and it was working great and everything, but I'm a person that really likes things to be organized, and I got tired of not knowing when I would go to a yarn store or pick out yarn. I like to know that I've got something planned that it's going to go with. I don't like to just randomly buy unless, I have something it's going to match with or whatever. So I pulled everything out, threw it out on the bed, and went and compared what the fiber contents were, what the colors were, what the weight of the yarn was, and I put things together that some I have just the yarn for. I don't know what I'm going to make with it, but I know that the 2 yarns or 3 yarns or whatever are going to go together to do it. And in some cases, I know what the yarn is. I know what pattern I'm putting it with. So the yarn pairings are kind of a mix and match. When I filmed it, it took 48 minutes. It's 48 minutes of video. I will not make you suffer through 48 minutes of video today, because if you're like me, I love watching knitting podcasts, but after about 45 minutes, no matter how interesting it is, I get, my eyes glaze over. It's like I'm just overload of the yarn. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split it between 2 little episodes. So I'm going to show a portion of it today, and then Monday or Tuesday, I'm going to put part 2 up. So that way you're not getting a huge dose of yarn and yarn pairings and yarn patterns and all that type of stuff. Because as fun as it is, I really don't want to bore all of you with all of it. So I'm going to split it into 2 sections. So be watching. This section, of course, is on Saturday. The part 2 will go up on Monday. So you'll be able to see the rest of the yarn pairings then. And in the meantime, if we get a knit crate in, I will be adding that this week as well. So it depends. It's wandering around somewhere on the East Coast. So I have well-traveled yarn apparently, because it's only coming from Hyde Park, New York. So that's like 2 states away, about 5 hours away from where I live. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but it's wandering someplace. So that's it for this week. And with that, I'm going to put on the yarn pairings. If you've enjoyed this episode, give me a thumbs up, because the thumbs up actually I have discovered this week I did learn something this week. Thumbs up help you out. So apparently the more thumbs up I get, the more it puts me up in the little recommends window to other people who are looking at knitting podcasts. So if you've enjoyed this, please give me a thumbs up. And otherwise, watch for Monday's video and possibly later on this week, another Knit Crate video. And, of course, our regular Saturday podcast. So thanks again for watching, and I will see you again several times this week. Bye, everybody. All right, we're going to start with our yarn pairing. So the first one I have is some hedgehog fiber. I bought these on vacation last year. These are hedgehog sock minis. And I have two of them. One is in the graphite color, that's the gray, and this one is called Cheeky. They do make this in a larger version too, and in a thicker base. I have seen it before, but it's there. You can see it's kind of got. It reminds me of a lot of the colors that were in a giveaway yarn that I did by Primrose, called Blueberry. Just this color reminds me of it. So anyway, these two are going together, and then I bought some of this. This is West Yorkshire Spinners. And this has a little bit of a halo to it, as you can see it. Yeah, there you can see a little bit of halo right like in here. And all of these are, this is a British yarn actually. It is from, of course, West Yorkshire. And let me see what the content is. It just says it's 100% British wool. And hedgehog fibers also comes from England. And it's a 90% merino, 10% nylon, because it is a sock base. But I'm going to put these three together. So, and you can see that some of these pinks really picks it out. And then if I still need a little bit more, because this skein has 244 yards, and each of these have 87 yards. So this together should be enough. I'm thinking a cowl with this, and so this should be enough. But if I do find that I run short, I also have some other, this is just plain wool yarn that's very soft. It's called Erdos, and you can get this, there we go. You can get this on eBay. And it's actually a very nice yarn. It's 100%, or actually it's not 100% wool. It is 5% cashmere, 45% wool, 50% acrylic. So you actually could use it for sock yarn, but it's a little fine for sock yarn. So I would probably hold this double if I end up using it, but it will go nicely with these other colors together. There you can see a little bit better. Except this one's totally getting blown out. So that is my first one. Then I have a pattern. It's called, now I don't have a color printed pattern of this. It's called Pirate Cove. It is a free pattern on Ravelry. It is a shawl, or, you know, one that you can wear around your neck like a kerchief. I've seen this. A friend of mine actually did this, and it's gorgeous. And so I am making this in the yarn that it calls for, which is Cascades Ultra Pima. And each of these skeins, they are, of course, Pima cotton. I got these at Halcyon Yarn up in Maine when we went on vacation 2 years ago. And each of these skeins has 220 yards. And it, like I said, it is 100% cotton. So this is one I hope to work on this spring, because I do want to bolster my cotton accessories, because most of my stuff is wool. So here are the three colors. And I love these colors together because it was funny. We were out for a walk one night and the sky was gorgeous. And I said, oh, look at that sky. It would make a beautiful shawl. It was this color. It was right before a storm. So you've got this kind of color, and then you've got this gray, and then you've got a navy. So, and it is a 3-color shawl. So I think this is going to be beautiful together. So that is my second project. And I'm going to be storing all of these projects in 1-gallon Ziploc bags. I can get them at the dollar store, so I'm going to just get some of those. So that way when I do want to work on one of them, I don't have to dig out the pattern, dig out the yarn, and now that I know which ones I want to put together. So the third one, this one I do not have a pattern picked out for. I might just do it on my own. I'm not sure. These are 3 skeins. I got these off of Knit Picks. Yes, this is Cloudborne Fibers. And I think it was Knit Picks. It's either Knit Picks or it was Craftsy. Don't remember which. But anyway, they are a sock twist, and they're just in a neutral tan color. And I'm making leg warmers out of them. I have some gray. I didn't bring it upstairs. I have some gray as well. This is kind of like an oatmeal-y kind of color. There, it's pretty true to color there. Anyway, I'm going to make some leg warmers, and it's very soft. And the fiber content with this is, it is a Highland Superwash sock twist. It is 163 meters, 178 yards. It is a fingering weight. It is 80% superwash fine Highland wool, 20% polyamide. So it is a sock yarn. And like I said, leg warmers. Then I have a pattern that I talked about week before last. This is the pattern that I designed that's Keeping You in Stitches shawl, and I want to do it with this color, which is not really blue. Greens never show up well with my camera. This is a very deep turquoise. It's called marine, but it is a deep turquoise. So I want to do, this shawl was originally written in a 3-color or 4-color pattern, and I want to do it in a solid this time. So that's on my project list. Then I have this pattern, which I showed last week. It's called the Be Mine shawl. This is also a free pattern, and I got this off of Universal Yarns. They sent this pattern, and it doesn't show up real well, but the lace work in here actually forms little hearts. And of course they did it in Valentine's type of colors. I am going to be doing it in these colors. So I have I've showed these before. This is a light pearly gray and a maroon, and then there's this yarn that has the maroon in it. It looks red, but it's not. It's actually a cranberry maroon. The reds that are up in here are not red, they're this color. So those will be going together in a pattern. Then I have my Find Your Fade, which I frogged a while back because it was a beautiful pattern, but not practical for me. It was just an impractical pattern for me to wear because it was so very, very long, and mine was knit on a cross of fingering and sock weight yarn, and I could have wrapped it around myself like 2 or 3 times. It was like 9 feet long. It was just too much. I put it on my shoulders. It hung to the ground. I couldn't figure out how to style it, so I was like, I loved the yarn. I wanted to make it into something I would wear. So I have all the yarn. I have some ideas, but I'm not certain what I want to make with it. But let me show you what it was made out of. I had these 3 balls of Cascade, and this was called Sunseeker. So it's got, I don't know if it's going to show up or not. It has little sparkles in it. You can see a little bit of the sparkle, but all 3 of them have some sparkle in it. And then to go with that, I have some solids, and I have a solid blue, which was fading in. These 2 colors faded into each other. It started initially, let me think how I had this. I think it started with this color, went into this color, then it went into, I'm probably getting this completely wrong. I am, I think. I think it started one of these 2. it blended from one into another, and then it went into this, and then this one, and then this one, and then it ended with these two. And these two are like a khaki. This one's a khaki color. This one is a sage color. And I'm dropping all of them because it's just a little too hard to hold them all up together. See if I can. Let me see if I can hold them all together so you can kind of get an idea of the colors. Oh well, I will stick a little card in up here with a picture of what it originally looked like. You can see it when I initially finished it. My husband and I held it out all the way across the room. So I will show you that, and I'll just insert it. The next grouping that I'm going to do is for an Afghan. It's going to be like the granny striped Afghan, but mine's going to be a little more planned, not just randomly chosen. And I have an autumn colored bedspread, and I've showed this before. This is all acrylic because it is going to be an Afghan, so I want it to be easily washable. And there are all the colors that are going together. We have a forest green, a rust, a gold, a light gold, a dark brown, and a medium brown, and a variegated, which is what I use to kind of draw the other colors together. So again, it's going to be like a granny striped blanket, but a little more planned than your typical granny striped blanket. The next one, I have gotten several different yarns from Knit Crate. And they're not yarns that I maybe would put with other colors. I think they're pretty by themselves. And there's enough yardage. I think each of them have like 400 yards in each skein, and they come in 2 packs. There's like 800 yards, so I don't need to add a solid color to them. So let me show you what they are. There's this one, which is reds and purples. There's some lighter kind of pinks in there. And this is called Kiss, and it is a superwash sport weight, and it is 320, I lied, it's not 400 yards, it's 328 yards, and I have 2. Okay, so I have that, and I didn't tell you what the content is. Merino, 100% superwash merino. Then I have this. This is a Uru yarns, or Uru yarns. If I turn so you can see it. Uru yarns. And this was called Copper Kettle. And this is actually, it's looking a little greenish. This is actually 2 different gold tones. And then it has a peach and kind of a peachy color right here. You can see it over here. And then it has kind of a sherbety, raspberry kind of color. And this is also, it's a striping sport weight. And it is 70% merino, 10% silk, 20% nylon. And there's 389 yards. So, and I have the 2 skeins. And then I have a third one. And this is a single. The other 2 are plied. This is singles. This is also from Knit Crate. It's called Fresh Start. It's 60% merino, 20% nylon, 20% alpaca, which explains why it's soft. It's 440 yards because it's a fingering weight. The others were sport to sock weight, so that explains why this has more yardage. This looks so much like something I would wear for Easter. And you can see the colors are pretty true. They remind me of irises, really, you know, with the kind of the peach color, or not peach, the kind of lavender purpley color and the green from like the stems. So it's really pretty. So let me show you what I'm thinking of making. I'm not sure which one's going to be made with which. This is a capelet that I got out of a book. I'm trying to see if, I think it's called Wrap Style. Wrap, W-R-A-P, Style. And it's just a capelet. I don't even know that it even has an official name other than capelet. It's done by Deborah Newton. So it is just, see if I can show you. This was also a, I don't know if this is, I'm assuming it's probably a free pattern, but I'm not positive. It's just a capelet that just kind of wraps around your neck, sort of like a short poncho. But it has a really pretty texture to it. Here you can see a little bit better picture from a distance of it. Yeah. It's kind of a lacy pattern. I don't know if the stitches are going to... There you can see it a little bit better. So I want to use this pattern for one of those, but I'm not sure which yet. And then I have this pattern. It's called Terraform. This is available on Ravelry. It is a free pattern. It is by Cherry McEwen. And it is free. It is, again, called Terraform. Here's what it looks like. It's knit with one color. They used it like a variegated as well. And it is, I don't know if it's an asymmetrical. It's a textured shawl. It works well with all different types of yarn. And it does have dropped stitches. And I saw this on display. It is an asymmetrical. Here's what it looked like here before they blocked it. It does have like dropped stitches which create a lacy look to it. And I saw it on display when I visited Love to Knit, not this year, but last year, when we were on vacation. And so I asked them, I saw it on in the window in their display and asked them what was the pattern. So then I got home, couldn't remember what they said, so I actually sent a message to them, and Marissa wrote back to me and told me what it was. So anyway, and that's the Yarn Shop Girls. If you watch their podcast, it's their knitting shop that I'm talking about. So anyway, I want to do this, and it's going to be with one of those yarns. The other one I'm going to knit with this as well is Architecture. And, oh, no, there's another one I'm doing with Architecture. Okay, I also have some other knitting books that I want to look through, because some of these yarns that I have, I don't know exactly which pattern I want to put with. So I have two that I want to work my way through. This is called Sock Yarn Shawls 2. There is a Sock Yarn Shawls 1. It's by Jen Lucas, and they are all kinds of patterns that are made from sock yarn. So since some of this is sock and sport weight, I will be working my way through some of it and see if I can show you some of the really pretty patterns. I think this one's gorgeous. So, and I actually like the one on the cover as well. So, and here's some on the back that are really pretty. So I am going to look through that. And I also have a Nora magazine. This is issue 8. I think it was from last year. Yeah, it was August of 2016. So it's a little over a year old. And there's several, there's some cowl patterns that are in this. And this is just their monthly magazine, but it includes quite a few patterns inside it. So I think the patterns, it says it's sold for $8.99 for the magazine, but when you figure you're getting like 5 to 6 patterns out of this, it's not bad at all. There might even be more. But it says 1 cowl, 6 great patterns. So there's also some shawls. So there's quite a few patterns in this. So I'm going to work my way through this and maybe use one of the patterns in here to do the hedgehog fiber cowl that I showed you. So that is those. That is those. Yeah. I'm not sure that sounded right. here is the one I'm doing for architecture. Now, architecture I have made before. I've shown it on the podcast. This is what it looks like. It is gorgeous. It is a wrap. This is sold on Craftsy, and I bought it as a kit, and I actually did it with this Cloudborne yarn. My architecture is in this color. I think that's what came with the kits, is I chose oatmeal. And it's solid, but it is a narrow, long, like a scarf type of wrap. But it's got all different types of texture in it. It was a lot of fun to knit. It knit really fast. The only thing I would change is it's not a real deep wrap, or, you know, as they call it a scarf, and it is technically a scarf. It's actually pointed at both ends, but it's only about maybe 16 to 18 inches deep. So I want to knit this again, but I want to modify the pattern because I don't need it as long. I knit the medium version, and I think it's probably maybe 6 or 7 feet. It wraps around my neck and can still hang down some. So it's very long. I'm thinking it's around 7 feet. I would like to make it not as long, but I'd like to make it deeper. So I am going to modify the pattern. But here's what it looks like. Like I said, let's see if I can get this close enough so you can see some of the stitches in it. And they're basic stitches. It's mostly like garters and pearls, but it's done in some rib, and there's some seed stitch, and it's just really pretty. Here's some other pictures of it. There you can see some of the ribbing, and there it's on display. So anyway, it's very pretty, and I'm going to do it with these 2 yarns. This actually came in, was it last month? This was last month's knit crate. It's called Dry Leaves. Is this last month's? I think this was last month's. Anyway, it's meant to go together. Even though they're not the same skein of yarn, they're meant to go as a pair. And it did come with a pattern that I thought I was going to do, but then the more I thought of it, I just really like the architecture pattern, and I want to try to do something, but I don't want like lots of like crazy blown out colors like this. I want something really subtle, so that the stitches really show, and I think this will work well with it. So that is my intention with that pattern. And then I have another Craftsy package. This shawl is called Plaidaptation. There we go. And if you watched one of the latest Off Your Needles episodes, Jody is actually wearing this poncho in the colors that I have it. I don't have it in this color. I have it in the charcoals, rusts, and like autumn colors, which is what she was wearing. So it comes in a rust. These are the colors that it is in, and this is looking more white. This is a beige, kind of a crew color, and a charcoal. So mine is in these 3 colors. And this is just strictly acrylic yarn. But I was kind of intrigued when I saw the pattern because I really wanted to discover how in the world they knit a plaid pattern. And once I read through the pattern, I was like, well, I should have figured that out. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty easy. I don't know why I didn't think of it. But anyway, yeah, it's really pretty. So that is going to be going together. And I got that on a Craftsy sale. It was like $14 for the pattern and all the yarn. It was a 50% off sale. So that was a good deal. So that is that portion.